Hello and welcome to my channel where I discuss the Power Platform. In today's episode, I wanted to take you through some of the features that are available in August of 2020. This is compiled from a combination of the Power Apps blog, the Power Apps community call, which I attend every month, as well as any kind of information I've seen out there on other sources. So first of all, on the Power Apps blog, there are two new big features that I think are worth mentioning. So first is the general availability of Microsoft Power Platform build tools. So this is a ability to use DevOps for the deployment and development of Power Apps, Power Automate, and other components which are supported. Secondly, Power Apps Checker, which is what is used to check Power Apps solutions, can now check up to Modern Web Syntax ES9. So previously, when you would have got some errors on this is now available. Now, the 2020 released Wave 2 features are available for early access. So before I go through each of these in detail, let's have a quick look at the blog post itself. Now you have all the information here, as you can see on the screen. I'm going to go through those each at a time, and in particular, in order to actually get access to these features, you can opt in to get these early access, and this documentation explains exactly how to do it. And as well as that, we've got a list here which tells us what the various features are. So these are the ones I'll be quickly going over today. So we've got the ability to create, edit, and send and reply to emails in the Power Apps mobile application. The responsive unified interface, which is essentially a way of model-driven apps and how you build apps using that. The charting has been updated. And actually quite a few of these are for model-driven. So the third one there is also for model-driven. So we've got improved site headers, app switching, and the unified interface is actually the standard now for the model-driven applications in the 2020 release Wave 2. We also have usability improvements on how data is presented on a form, again, for model-driven apps. In the Power Automate section, we can now copy actions and scope within the UI flow. So this is when you use a flow in order to click around and mimic what a human being would do. And secondly, we can also do until loops in the UI flows. So that's the 2020 release Wave 2 features. The Power Apps community call this month was very exciting. We had 3 speakers on, and I wanted to relay what key messages I took from the 3 of these, and then I'm going to have a look at a quick demo. So number 1 is Belinda Allen. Her message was really about doing something simple first to draw your customers in, as opposed to doing all the fancy stuff. So her idea is that you should get the tool to work. The tool should be presented to the customer first. Secondly, we had Brian Knight, who did a demo on the receipt processor. So I've also had a play around with that, so I'll be showing that in this video. And thirdly, we had Paul Stork, who was talking about how we can use Flow to get around Power Apps limitations. And this is something I do quite often as well within my applications. So to give a brief overview for yourselves to have a look at, you can go into Power Automate and you can use a SQL procedure, for example, and get data using that, and then bring that back in a JSON format into our Power App, and then use a collection to show that data. Now, bringing the data directly into Power Apps, you may have delegation issues, you may not be able to overcome your 2000 limit, and this is why Power Automate can also be used actually to bring in a SharePoint list and filter data before it comes through. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at a demo now of this AI builder. So I'm actually going to start with a new screen here just to show how this is built. But you see on the screen, that is what we are aiming for. So I'm just adding a new screen here. Now, this AI builder has pre-built models which already use machine learning, and we don't need to do anything to configure them or train them. They're already being trained. And we now have a new one called Receipt Processor. So this is a way of reading receipts. Now, a word of advice here is it took me a while to kind of get this working, but you do have to turn on AI models in the preview in your admin settings. So do have a look at the Microsoft documentation for that if you find that you cannot see AI Builder here. So first I'll bring in this receipt processor like this, and it's brought in this component. It looks quite good, there's nothing too onerous about how we actually brought that in. Now what I can do is I can scan a receipt, and I've actually got a few different receipts I was playing around with, and what I found was that in general, if your receipts were a little bit crumpled, so you can see I've actually got some pictures there that I was taking, the actual API was kind of struggling a little bit to read that. And so this one, just to show you, is a Sainsbury's receipt that I found. It's not actually one I scanned, just for ease I took one off the internet. You can see that it's thinking about it, it's using that machine algorithm behind the scenes that, I've not had to do anything to actually make this work at the moment. So let's just give that a second to run. So now that that's loaded, we can see that the machine learning algorithm has actually picked up a few different things here. And what we can actually do now is I can start putting labels on the screen that read this receipt processor too. So for example, I could type in receipt processor and see what options are presented to me. So I've got the merchant address, the merchant name, the phone number, images, subtotals, etc. So I believe that is the merchant name. So if we click on that should load. Any second now, there you go. My internet speed is playing up a little bit, which is affecting how quickly I can do this. So that's the merchant name. I can see it looks like the address, so let's go for merchant address right there. So we've now got that. I can see that that's a total at the bottom there. Let's go ahead and put the total there, and you can see I've extracted all this information. I notice here that I've got lines of items and then I've got prices. Now to me that looks like a table, so I did have a play around with this earlier. So I put a table on the canvas now like this, and then I will connect this to the receipt processor too, and from there we'll get the purchased items. So that will build a table there, and I can now put in some fields once my internet catches up. Any second now, and now I can put on, let's go for the price and the name and the total price, as those would be populated, and probably want the name first, and we've now got our data there. So, I mean, this is great. I've been able to do this without doing anything fancy at all. This is really for as a developer that can come in, and I haven't had to understand what a machine learning model is, I haven't had to go configure it, I haven't had to go train it, and yet I've been able to analyze this receipt and put this together. So real life examples of this, if you were in a company and you wanted to sanity check your receipts, make sure they were correct, maybe they're submitted for expenses, you could run it through this model and make sure that there is some information coming out, and if not, of course, you could reject it, and then a human intervention may need to take place. I mean, actually, having a look at this right now, it is in dollars right now, so that's something I need to look at how to do that. And also it says Chinese bean sprouts there for £20 and 59 pence, and we've actually got £0 59 pence there, so there is a little bit of work to do. But I hope you enjoyed that. That was the the August 2020 for Power Apps. Thank you.